The latest trend in Minecraft right now is the forever world. If you are starting a world that you will be using forever, you'll want to do it right, because forever is a long time. I've been playing in my world for almost 3 years, and during that time I've made a lot of mistakes, which means I've learned a couple of things that could help you start your forever world right. So let's take a look at 14 things I wish I knew before starting my forever world in Minecraft. These 14 things can be grouped into 6 different topics. Let's start with world generation. When you open a new world, the spawn chunks may be kind of boring. You can of course wander off and try to find a new location, but if you don't find anything interesting near the spawn chunks, you could end up having a long way to walk if you die and have to respawn. What I would suggest is opening multiple worlds until you find one that has spawn chunks that you find interesting. I was lucky that I built my starter base by my spawn chunks, but one thing that it took me a long time to build was a quick revive system. What is a quick revive system? It's a simple setup that will help you quickly get geared up and back in the game after dying. Early on, it can be as simple as placing a couple of chests around the spawn chunks to hold spare armor, extra food, weapons, beds, and tools. But the longer you're in your world, the more you can improve your system by upgrading the spare gear, placing it in shulker boxes for easy transportation, adding a dispenser to automatically place the shulker boxes filled with gear, and creating an automatic XP dispenser to repair the spare gear after you use it. Finding the perfect spawn chunks and setting up a respawn system will save you a lot of time over the life of your world. If your base is far from the spawn chunks, it'll take time to walk back after you die and respawn, it'll take time to find spare gear, and it will take even more time to put everything away afterwards. With a little bit of planning, you can make dying a positive experience, or at least a less painful one. So the 2 lessons I learned about starting a new world are 1. Find a good spawn chunk, and 2. Make a quick revive system. Both will save you a lot of time. Our second topic is base location. My starter base location wasn't too bad, but with my next base location, I wish I did things a little differently. Something I did early on was create a large, nearly flat space to build the city. This was a mistake, because a large flat space is difficult to make look interesting. Instead of flattening out a whole area, try molding your project to fit the terrain. This doesn't mean you have to keep the terrain exactly how you found it. Instead, try adapting the terrain that is there, making some areas flatter, some areas wider, or some areas taller. If you adapt to the terrain, it can inspire you with ideas for different types of builds, it can help with ideas on how to design your project, and it can also help create natural sightlines that you can use to frame different structures. A flat space may be easy to work with, but it can also leave you with no idea of what to do. You can also use terrain to frame your project by building in a location that has natural barriers. The barriers could be rivers, mountains, oceans, forests, or ravines, and having a natural barrier can help to provide limits to the size of your project. If you are building on a large flat space that you've created, you need to fill in all of that space. But if you are building around natural barriers, then the size of your build will match the terrain instead of trying to make the terrain match your build. For example, my little village that I've been working on recently fits nicely in this space by the mountain and surrounded by these cliffs. It creates natural areas for houses to go, roads to enter, and of course, a place to build a castle. What lessons did I learn from building in these different locations? First, don't start with a completely flat surface, and second, make use of natural barriers to frame your projects. I will note that these lessons don't apply when you're going to build custom terrain. In that case though, the custom terrain will guide and frame your projects instead of the default terrain, so I guess the lessons do apply. Next, let's talk farms. When it comes to building farms, there are a couple of surprising lessons that I've learned along the way. And no, I'm obviously not talking about farms like this, I'm talking about resource farms. Building a massive, super efficient farm that produces thousands of items every minute is very satisfying, but it can also be challenging to build, especially early on in the game. Plus, trying to figure out how to use redstone is tricky if you are not a redstone expert, which I am definitely not. But that hasn't stopped me from building farms. I have built both large and small farms in my world. What I was surprised to learn was that having some simple small farms can be extremely effective. For example, I have this little lava farm that I set up, and it has produced enough lava to fill this barrel, and this barrel, and this barrel, and this barrel, which is more lava than I'll ever need. I also have this small sheep farm, which has produced chests full of wool, this mud farm, which has been super useful, this honeycomb farm that has produced so much honeycomb I had to turn it off, which is all to say a small farm may be all that you need. Just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that you don't build big farms, but the lessons have taught me that a small farm can help you get a lot of resources while also being easier and cheaper to build. From farms, we move on to storage rooms. Once I got established in my world, I was ready to build a proper storage room to hold all of the many thousands of resources that I was collecting. But I made a crucial mistake. I built a large square room with all of the chests around the exterior walls, and while I like this storage room, it's not very practical to walk around in when getting resources out. I've used lots of rockets flying around this room trying to get from one section to another, and it's just not very efficient. In comparison, my storage room over on the Project Nodinium server is compact. It's really easy to go through from one side to the other and get the resources out that I need. Now you might be thinking, well, that first storage room has way more capacity, which is true, but looking at this open area, it's a lot of wasted space. A compact storage room is going to save you a lot of time. Plus, storage capacity can easily be increased with shulker boxes. This chest filled with shulker boxes holds the same amount as all of these chests over here. When it comes to storage rooms, there are 3 lessons that I've learned. Make efficient use of space, bigger isn't always better, and if you need more space, use shulker boxes, not more chests. From storage rooms, we move on to travel. Now, there are a couple of different ways to travel in Minecraft. You can walk, you can ride animals, you can ride minecarts, or you can fly. The methods of travel are not new. So what did I learn about travel? Well, as I was building up my world, one area which I have not been very good at building is connections between the different areas. Here is my starter base, and then from my starter base, I moved over 1,000 blocks away and started building here. For a long time, I did not have a nether portal, so I would fly back and forth between my starter base and my new base. That is not very practical. It also doesn't tie the 2 bases together. So a couple of months ago, I finally built a road connecting these 2 locations. Adding roads really helps make the world not only easier to travel, but it unites different projects to make a larger, more complete whole. This isn't just a starter base area, it's also a distant village to this larger city. Plus, it's now really easy to travel between the 2 locations using a horse. The other side to traveling in Minecraft is using the nether. As you know, every block you travel in the nether, you travel 8 blocks in the overworld. It makes traveling long distances much faster, but this is another area where I have not been so good. There are a lot of nether connections that I should build for each location that would make life so much easier, but I haven't. For example, in order to get to the nether roof from my starter base, I have to go all the way over to these ruins, go down the stairs, into the nether, go down this hallway, exit the nether, go up this bubble column, and now I am finally on the nether roof. Not very practical. It would be much better if my nether portal was over here and it linked up directly to the nether roof. So what are the lessons learned here? Well, there are 2 lessons. 1, build roads, and 2, use efficient nether portals. The final topic we are going to cover is adding character or life or feelings. I don't really know what the right word is for it, but it's about adding something more to your world than just structures. When I started building this city, I had a lot of large structures and not much else. But there is so much more to creating a city than just having a lot of buildings. A city also needs to feel like a place that people live in. There are a couple of different ways to do that in Minecraft. One thing to add to structures are trees and vegetation. The trees and hedges lining this street make it feel so much more alive than this street over here that has no trees or hedges. Adding in this foggy ravine and these vines to this build also help make the structure feel less boring. The same with adding in this overgrown garden area around my moss farm. Another way to add to a project is by including villagers. Not only did I build this marketplace around the base of this structure, but I also added in a bunch of villagers. Having the villagers wander around or gather next to different market stands or just end up in strange places adds to the feeling that this is a living city. Without the villagers, this could easily feel like a ghost town. A third way to add character to projects is by using mods. For example, there are different armor stand mods that can be used to create poses and different characters. If I'm being honest, this is something I have not used before, but I have seen it used a lot on the Project Nodinium server, and it's amazing how much it adds to any project. I mean, just look around this shopping district. There are so many great examples of little details being added in that makes it feel so alive. So what are the lessons here? First, use trees and vegetation to add character to a project. Second, use villagers to add life. And third, mods can add so much detail and variation to a build. And there you have it. 6 topics covering 14 lessons that I've learned over the last 3 years. Hopefully these lessons will help you take your forever world to the next level, or at least give you some ideas that you can use. But that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see ya later.